Hello all, this is the Owl, and welp, it's time for another Made in Abyss video, because that algorithm is forever hungry and needs feeding. Yes, don't worry, I'm sure there are literally tens of you waiting patiently for that final corpse party video. It's being worked on, but today, let's do something else. Made in Abyss, Tsukushi's little pitch-black Lovecraftian fairy tale masterpiece that could, believe it or not, very nearly couldn't. It received lukewarm reception on release and, at one point, was very close to cancellation. However, acting on advice from his publisher, Tsukushi introduced fan favorite Nanachi as a third-party member and dialed up the gore, squick, and nasty to 11. Boom! Sudden international hit. Because, I guess, while there's no shortage of gory, disturbing manga, and there's no shortage of good manga, there is a gigantic void when it comes to manga that is gory, disturbing, and good. I mean, love.
Yeah?
Name 3.
Higurashi, Gantz, Berserk.
Okay. Name 3 more.
Blade of the Immortal, Umineko, Chainsaw Man, I Am a Hero.
I said 3 more, but fine, you got lucky. So okay, there are a few, but what makes Made in Abyss unique isn't the disturbing stuff in the foreground. It's the severely screwed up details quietly hiding in the background. And today, we're going to look at 5 of them. Oh yeah. Keep in mind that some of these are my own theories. If any of this stuff is contradicted in the anime, or new chapters, or an interview with Tsukushi at a later date, it's not a big deal, okay? And if you want to add any, the comments are that-a-way. Anyway, here are 5 ultra-disturbing details about Made in Abyss that you might not have noticed.
But your brain did.
Thank you, Mr. Plinkett. Enjoy. As is established fairly early on, Riko actually lives in a torture chamber in Orth. Let me say that again. Riko, the spunky, flighty, occasionally dumb, more than occasionally rather daft protagonist of this story, lives in a torture chamber. So, why does Orth need a torture chamber? Why does a kid get stuck sleeping in a torture chamber? And probably most importantly, why does Riko know how to use the implements? That electric chair they use to start Reg up again, that's a torture implement. You know, there are so many questions here that absolutely do not need answers. Sure, Orth is not exactly a nice place. You know, sending orphans down into the abyss to hunt for relics, hanging them up in the altogether, but torture chambers? What the hell? Fan favorite Nanachi, an adorable koala slash rabbit slash Totoro slash fiction, she of the sweet smell, general fluffiness, and horrible backstory, is actually an even darker character than people realize. See, what I think you remember about her is, well, wee gurgle gurgle kill me splat blobfish elevator fun times, and not so much the stuff that happened between her leaving Bondrewd and meeting the party. For starters, she remained with archvillain Bondrewd for quite some time, assisting him in his own unspeakable human experiments, until she was finally driven to her breaking point and managed to escape with her friend slash pet Mitty, who had herself been rendered immortal and doomed to eternal suffering by Bondrewd's horrible shenanigans. Whilst living on Layer 4, Nanachi would watch delvers pass by and, when one got badly hurt or mortally injured, she would take them back to her little house and, well, experiment on them. Pretty damn nastily, in fact, until they died, hoping to find a way to perma-kill Mitty. That's messed up, man. It appears that her time under Bondrewd— no, don't say it.
Phrasing.
Left more scars than people realize. And that's both really sad and immensely disturbing. But it does make an awful kind of sense. This is how Nanachi grew up, assisting a mad scientist with hideous human experimentation. It's somewhat understandable that she would continue this trend herself in her desperate attempts to euthanize her friend. Jeez. Of the stuff on this list, this seems to be the one that people forget about the most, and it's why the chances of this story having a happy ending are slim to nil. See, Riko is doomed, completely and utterly. She is going to die, and not just in the way that, well, we're all going to die. If you recall, Riko was a stillbirth, born deep within the abyss to her mother Liza. Orzin placed her into a special relic called the Curse Warding Box, or as I prefer to call it, the Butthole Meteor, which can resurrect things. In a way. See, things resurrected by this relic inevitably seek out the bottom of the abyss and then die. While this does seem to have been delayed in Riko's case, she is, in a way, if you think about it, doing exactly that. Yes, I know there are some fan theories that she's some sort of weird reincarnation, or messianic figure, or that she received a wish from Liza, but we'll have to see. As Wazukyan and Faputa implied, the dark part of this manga is yet to come, and that should scare the hell out of you. What is interesting to think about, though, is that, if you remember, the Abyss is based on a version of the Buddhist hell. Thus, the entire story here could be interpreted as some sort of journey into the underworld. But as I do already have an in-progress script about the mythological and theological inspirations for Made in Abyss, I'll leave that there for now. So, the final two are my own personal theories. Please note I'm no Made in Abyss scholar. I'll leave that to my good friend Pooty Spaghetti. Seriously, go and check that channel out. So take my bullshit with an entire heaping teaspoon of salt. That said, I did go through this somewhat in my deep dive video, but I have my own pet theory about Irumyui's curse, and it not only explains what happened to her, it's almost as dark as, well, yeah, that stuff. This one does take a bit of explaining though, so I'll do my best. For those who might have forgotten, Irumyui was given a nearly omnipotent relic called a Cradle by Wazukyan, which has the power to grant your desires. However, what makes this relic so amazingly dangerous is that desire is murky and difficult to pin down, and any corruption or warping of this desire will result in you being warped and corrupted in turn. And this is where things start to get dark. When she used the Cradle, Irumyui was turned into a Narehate-ish form with a unique twist. She was doomed to constantly give birth, full Geiger style, to a seemingly infinite number of blind, faceless, stillborn creatures. Then, of course, other stuff happened. However, this transformation is what I want to focus on here, because this is where the really messed up stuff lies. The question is, What exactly did Idum Yui desire, and how did the relic interpret it? Well, think of it like this. Idum Yui was born infertile, and so was cast into the abyss by her tribe. She recently lost her pet, a little rabbit-like creature called a hermit rat. She was constantly hungry, thirsty, and later ill, and she really wanted to help out Vueko, her adoptive mother, and the other Ganja members. It's likely that these formed her desire, and that's where interpretation comes in. C. A child is unlikely to have a sophisticated understanding of childbearing, or especially childbirth. My guess is that the extent of her knowledge would be a baby grows inside you and then comes out of your tummy. Stuff like feeding, development, fetal anatomy and the like. I doubt she would have known that, even in the hypersexual pseudo-Neolithic tribe she's from. She would also likely have only the fuzziest memory of what her pet looked like. I am sure that if you think back, you can remember your pets as mostly motion and experience, not so much a face. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's not unreasonable to think that the relic would have put all of this together to give poor Idum Yui an immortal form that gave endless birth through its stomach to malformed, faceless creatures that immediately died, and do indeed bear a strong resemblance to her deceased pet. Hell, even the cradle being embedded into her could be framed as her wanting to help the others. Yes, crikey Moses, that makes all of this so much worse. What exactly is going on with Juro Imo's face? This one is my absolute darkest theory about Maiden Abyss. Vueko, poor cosmic plaything Vueko. You never really had a chance, did you? Taken in as a young girl by Juro Imo, she was monstrously abused until she escaped with Wazukyan's crew, which, you know, at least gave her a brief interlude of happiness before that, and that, and that. This manga, man. But within the cradle-built village of Iruburu, or Ilbu, or Iblu, or whatever it's actually being called now, she encountered a construct, which is implied to have been drawn out of her own trauma, a sort of fear elemental, I guess. And that's where things get dark. See, we learn a bit later that Vueko is infertile, and remember, the original Juro Imo would constantly abuse her. The construct Juro Imo, however, drawn from the horrors of her childhood by Idum Yui in an attempt to create a powerful guardian for the village has, well, rather a lot of symbolism to it. It's ugly and distorted, as well as being absolutely enormous and extremely powerful, which makes sense as the human Juro Imo towered over Vueko when she was young, as well as being in a position of absolute power over her. So, let's follow that chain of logic. When looked at in a certain light, Juro Imo's entire anatomy, well, let's just say Freud would have had good fun with this one. It wields a massive, mucus-covered rod as a weapon, and has a certain pictogram on its face, with a very, how do I put this? Something that resembles... You know what? There are actually some things that are just too dark even for this channel. So abort video, I am going to leave this one here entirely to your imaginations. Happy nightmares, folks. So there we have it. 5 crazily disturbing things about Maiden Abyss that you might not have noticed. Or, well, 3 things and 2 of my own darkest theories. Next time, why Santa Claus isn't real. Bring the kiddies. No, but seriously, Cheers, my friends, and take care. If you enjoyed this video, why not stick around? There's plenty more like this and tons of new content coming down the pipe. Some of which, let's just say, I'm really stoked to show you. If you, perchance, want to help us out and put a big fat smile on Mrs. Owl's face, or, help me afford a decent mic, you could always head over to our Patreon. We also have a Discord now, so if you want to make requests, give feedback, or just shoot the shit, all links are in the description. I'll see you next time. This is the Owl, signing off.